This is Armed American Radio's Daily Defense.
Armed American Radio's Daily Defense, because they don't want me to, that's why I do it.
Presented by the National Rifle Association from the CZ Studios.
They're never going to stop us here.
Here is your host, the loudest conservative voice in America fighting the enemies of freedom, Mark Walters.
Fighting the enemies of freedom, ladies and gentlemen. Is there such a thing as the enemies of freedom? You better believe there's enemies of freedom out there, and we're going to talk about it today. Welcome in. Armed American Radio's Daily Defense begins. It's garbage day here at the Patriot Mobile Command Center Ranch, and the garbage company is using the weather, which was nothing, as an excuse not to pick up my garbage today. That makes garbage day even more of a garbage day. Welcome inside the CZ Studios with me. I am Mark Walters, filling your prescription for freedom today and every day on dozens times 6 or 7 radio stations around the country today. We appreciate all of our great affiliates. Welcome in. So we're doing something fun for you if you're watching the stream today. We're going to be live on Rumble for you and live on X right now. The recorded video portion, the recorded show, will be going up on Facebook and YouTube later this afternoon, later this evening on the recorded version of it, so we can do some editing for you as we continue to grow at Armed American Radio's Daily Defense and the Monster Cast. So there's your disclaimer there. Our guest today, we're going to go right to him, Jared Yanis, Guns and Gadgets. Jared, woo! Is there a lot to talk about with you today, man? How are you doing today?
Doing good, buddy. How you been?
I'm doing good. I have a lot of questions, and I need you to set me straight on a number of issues, brother, because there's just so much happening, and I think you'll agree because you've got some great videos up. So let's start the conversation. You ready?
Let's do it.
Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to default right now to a piece from our good friend A.W.R. Hawkins over at Breitbart News. Establishment media focused on painting divide between Trump and gun rights. Now, this, I don't know if you've seen the headline. I hope you didn't, because I want to get your spontaneous reaction to this. Because it goes hand in, good, I'm glad, because this goes hand in hand with what you've put out on some of your videos and some of the concerns that a lot of people have. Let me just take a dive into this a little bit, and we'll start the conversation here. AWR is reporting that establishment media outlets are running stories to paint a division between President Trump and Second Amendment rights in the post-Alex Preddy shooting climate. Here's a couple, or a few, I should say, of the currently running headlines. Second Amendment backlash follows portrayal of Alex Preddy by some Trump administration officials. ABC News. Following Preddy killing, Trump opens the door to a radical shift on gun policy. That's MS Now. NRA clashes with Trump as he says Preddy shouldn't have been carrying a gun. That's Time magazine. All of the pieces target either Trump individually or officials in the administration claiming they have abandoned Second Amendment orthodoxy. For an example, the piece on ABC News says, and I quote, multiple gun rights groups have criticized Homeland Security Kristi Noem and FBI Director Kash Patel for publicly condemning Preddy over bringing a gun to a protest despite Minnesota officials confirming he had a license to carry a concealed weapon. Piece on MS Now focused on Trump stating his belief that Preddy, quote, certainly shouldn't have been carrying a gun, then asked to hear the sitting Republican president tell it, Americans, quote unquote, can't have guns at public gatherings. This creates an unexpected opportunity for reform advocates to introduce legislation to codify Trump's position in federal law. Are GOP lawmakers prepared to consider such a proposal, or are they prepared to condemn Trump's position as unconstitutional nonsense? Time takes a similar path. Their statements, the clash between the NRA and Trump, who have previously shared a harmonious relationship, did not go unnoticed by the president's opposition. Trump's lost the NRA, said Gavin Newsom in a response to the gun rights advocacy group's nighttime statement. The Democrat Party officials' social media account also joined the discourse. Alongside a clip of Trump speaking to reporters, they wrote, GOP president, you can't have guns. Jared, this was predictable, was it not?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think it was my first Twitter post after he said what he said, that we would see this, that snippet for the next 10, 15 years in all anti-gun rhetoric, and they ran with it. You knew they would. You give the anti-gunners an inch and they'll take, 6 miles. And, the Trump administration seemed to be stepping in it left and right, and they're going to pay for it. Unfortunately, what they said was what they said, and they meant what they said. And they deserve some of the backlash they got because they went to I guess they went to the talking points rather than the Constitution, which angered a big portion of this country.
Let's focus on Kash Patel for a minute. Now, I know Kash, and I know Kash is a pro-Second Amendment guy. So I want to give him the benefit of the doubt, but I don't want to give him the benefit of the doubt. Does that make sense? Because he said what he said. Did he? Yeah. Was he just inarticulate in what he was trying to say, or did he mean what he was saying? In other words, let me frame it this way. Is it possible that Kash Patel was stating in his mind that he knew this guy was an agitator, because there are reports now that he was on the radar of DHS. They knew who he was. He had been injured a week before. He had lost his job. There's a lot going on behind the scenes that we don't know. Or could that just be a cloud cover? So did he say what he said in an inarticulate way because he had background information and it just didn't come out right? Is that possible?
It's possible, and I hope you can hear me because it's starting to break up on your end. I don't know if it's my connection or not, but I
can hear you fine.
It's possible. Okay. It's possible, but, I'll push back on that a little bit. I've spoken with Kash before, and he talks the talk, and he's written books on government gangsters and all that stuff, right? But it was obviously a prepared statement because Bovino, Noem, Kash, and even Trump, they all said the same thing, and that tells me that that's what the administration wanted to go out, because people just don't talk off the cuff on the Trump administration and keep their job. Let's be honest. So, it maybe they meant something different than what they said and how it was perceived. But when you're on that big of a stage and you have that big of a red herring, if you will, the Second Amendment, you got to be really, really careful in how you say what you say. And Kash knows you can bring a gun. You can be armed as an American anywhere you go, whether it's a public protest or the supermarket. And for them to say that is, from my point of view, I'm a constitutionalist, I'm not a Republican or a Democrat, is not only unacceptable, but it is something that whatever pushback they get, they deserve. They really do. They stepped in it big time.
Where do you think?
And it's not the first time they've stepped in it either.
No, it's definitely not. But I want to throw this out. Maybe this isn't the right time to do it. Let me hold my thought on that, because I was going to go back to a Biden administration and a potential Kamala Harris administration, but there's plenty of time to do that after this conversation. Where do you think that directive came from? It had to come from somewhere. It originated in an office somewhere. Where? Now, I don't pretend to know the answer to that question.
If I had that answer, if I had that access and that answer, believe me, I'd put it out there. But whoever decided to put that statement together, that I don't know if BP rang with it first before Secretary Noem or what, but whoever put that out, I think they probably knew what they were doing. And maybe that person who wrote that statement wasn't necessarily on our side in the gun community, but they said it, and they haven't. The thing that bugs me and most Americans the most is not only did they say it, but they've doubled and tripled down on it. They haven't said, we misspoke, our mistake. They have tripled down on it. You've had Trump go out to Marine One again saying, you shouldn't have had a gun. You can't do that. You can't have a gun. Yeah, we can, and to be the sitting president and the most powerful nation in the country, in the world, and the only country that has a Second Amendment, he knows it, and to say something as stupid as that, as the commander-in-chief who won that position because, on the backs of gun owners, it's going to be difficult. They're making the midterms even more difficult, I think.
Do you find it interesting, and maybe I'm missing something here, Jared, help me out if you can. I've yet to see anything from Bondi on this. Bondi, you notice we're not mentioning Bondi's name, ladies and gentlemen. It's been Kristi Noem, it's been Kash Patel, it's been President Trump. And I don't know, did you catch that? I don't know if that's by design either, because she's caught a lot of flack from the pro-gun rights side, since she was nominated and so forth. So I just found that interesting that she's not in this mix. And I wonder if that had something to do with it. Did Bondi say, hey, I'm not going to jump out and say that. I've been catching a lot of flack from that side.
I thought it was
noticeable.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, the DOJ stepped in and again, he got caught thanks to the GOA putting out there about the FRT patent infringement case.
Well, hold on. We're going to go there too. Hang tight. We're getting ready to take a break. We have a lot to cover with Jared Yanis, guys, Guns and Gadgets. And by the way, if you're watching up on the stream, you can see up there in the corner, there is a QR code. That is for Blackout Coffee. So make sure to go ahead and grab that on the screen while we've got it up there for you. We'll have it up for the entire program today on video. Guys, Armed American Radio's Daily Defense, the Garbage Day edition, is just getting started. But as I tell you, and as you know, as a fan of the program, it's going to fly right by. So buckle in. We have 3 more segments left to go. A lot of controversial things to talk about. We'll get some straight dope from Jared Yanis, Guns and Gadgets YouTube sensation. Don't go away. We'll be right back. The following segment of Armed American Radio is proudly being brought to you by the National Rifle Association. Help us defend freedom by visiting nra.org/AAR and join today. Welcome back to the show. Yeah, welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. National Rifle Association needs our help right now. Please join us at nra.org/AAR. They present the program to you every single day here in the CZ studios. Mark Walters in the CZ studios, filling your prescription for freedom. You know what to do. Visit nra.org/AAR. Take advantage of the great opportunities. We're just seeking $35 if you can give us 1 year. We really need your help. Everything that we're talking about right now, and guys, the NRA is leading the charge in the very topic that we're talking about with our guest Jared Yanis today. So please help us support the National Rifle Association, who is wasting no time in getting up there and saying, hey, you can't say these things. All right? We're going to continue this conversation here. Suffice to say, you can find all of our great partners at armedamericanradio.com, including Blackout Coffee. And if you're watching the stream, you can hit that QR code. It takes you right to the Armed American Radio Blackout Coffee page. Pick up some great coffee. I had 2 cups to start my day yesterday and an entire pot of it, or today, I should say, and an entire pot of it yesterday to begin my day. Jared Yanis, Guns and Gadgets, welcome back, brother. Great to have you here.
It's a pleasure, man. I really enjoy spending time with you this way.
It's fun. It's a lot of fun, isn't it? So, oh gosh, there's so much. Let's move off the Bondi. I'm seeing some of the comments that are coming in from some of the listeners on Bondi's a train wreck and all this kind of stuff, which I'm not gonna deny that it's been a bumpy ride. So let me throw out what I was, because I think it's almost a disclaimer. Some of what they've done some great things for us in the Second Amendment, the realm of the Second Amendment. But some of what they've done appears to be stepping on their toes. And I want to go back to this Trump thing and this statement coming out of the DHS and DOJ and White House in just a moment. But I have to throw this question out. Would we rather have Kamala Harris's DOJ? Would we rather have Kamala Harris, AG, a gun violence prevention, working hand in hand with the anti-gunners right out of the White House? Would we rather have that? I don't think so. So how do we fix this?
You know, it's tough. I mean, it would appear, in us doing what we've been doing for so long, we do know people that have the ear of the administration, and now it's imperative that they lean heavily on that access and make them realize, look, you made a mistake, whether you meant it or not. You have an opportunity to at least own up to it, so that you can explain yourself to the people. But if they leave it unchecked, I mean, it just doesn't look good. You got a lot of people who think now that, the administration is gun grabbing. They don't want people to have guns. And there's no way they can let that linger. Trump had issues with the way he says things in his entire life. So, he just can't let it go. You saw Kristi Noem got sidelined. Bovino got sidelined. So it was apparent they knew that the messaging was off point and missed the target big time. But we'll see. Will the administration be open to listening to the people who know more than they do when it comes to the Second Amendment and how they can, save face, or how they can explain what they were really trying to say? It's a tough spot to be in, man. But you have an administration that has made good progress for us in some spots, but at the very same token has fought harder than they have before in courts to keep us from having, victories in court. So it's a tough spot, man. What do you think?
Well, good question. It is a tough spot, but again, I'm going to defer back to that. I'd rather have this administration in this conversation than be talking about what they were doing. We'd have a federal Virginia Californication on our hands if it were the other administration. Right. So I'm content with that. And I do know, and you know the very people we're talking about, we won't name names here on the show, but you and I both know individual people who do have the ear of the White House. And those people do need to be leaning hard right now. There's no question about that. I have not seen anything walked back yet at all. So my advice to them, and I know they listen to this show, and I know they watch you. In fact, Harmeet, Dylan has talked about you and your videos. You know they're paying attention. Guys, if you're listening to us right now, all right, walk this back, because standing on the sidelines and not addressing this, when you have the GOA, the National Rifle Association, and other groups saying these things. Now, rightfully so or not, because look, we can play devil's advocate here. Is it a good thing for GOA, NRA, and the rest of the groups to go after the administration so close to the midterms when we saw what I just opened up the program with, knowing damn good and well that all we're doing is feeding the leftist trolls? When you start giving Time Magazine, ABC, NBC, so we can all CBS, MS Now, CNN, and the rest of them this type of ammunition, this doesn't bode well for the midterms. And somebody in Washington's got to know that.
Yeah, you would think, man, because the one thing they are, every politician is focused on is their next election. And, what we've just gone through in the last 72 hours is going to have an effect on what historically it would have been a tough midterm anyway, because historically midterms always go to the opposite party than the one in control and in power. And so they were behind the eight ball anyway. And to now potentially, if left unchecked, potentially lose a huge chunk of this country who came out to support you in term one, the term, second term that is neither here or there, should have been a second term, and now this one here. You got a lot of people who feel like they just were abandoned, and you can't leave it that way. And I would say, because I know they're listening, an easy way to maybe save some face is say, not only do we know we screwed up here, but there's some layups that we can back up off of that we've been fighting against, and give us those layups. Stop fighting the NFA registration in court. Stop fighting all these other things in federal court that are violations of, Supreme Court precedent in Bruin, the Second Amendment in Heller. There's no reason that our federal government should tell every state that their gun control laws are unconstitutional, but theirs are acceptable.
Yeah, what we don't want coming out of D.C. with this administration is to find out all the great things that were done within the first 100 days, the executive orders, etc., the direction to the DOJ and Bondi to review everything. Okay, these were great positive steps. Right now, they're being washed over because too many people are saying, okay, so this is just typical Washington. They're saying one thing, they got elected, they're saying something, it's great, but look over here. Why are they defending that in court? Doesn't that fly in the face of the executive order to review the cases we're talking about? That, as Trump said, now I'm going to give Trump a pass on this because Trump does say things. When I hear Trump say, you can't have a gun, you can't do that. Let me tell you what I take away from Trump on that, because he does fly off the cuff. And let's get into this part of the conversation now. We'll start it now, and then we'll carry it into the next two segments. And that is, let's talk a little bit about Alex Preddy. I think what Trump was just generalizing here. You can't go to a quote-unquote protest when you know you're going to interject yourself and you're not going to stand on the sidelines. You can't do that with a gun, because this is the kind of stuff that can happen. Is there a possibility that that's what Trump meant? Again, I'm asking you questions. I'm trying to open the discussion. You have 20 seconds to get that before we hit the break. Then we'll dig into it deep in the next two segments.
Yeah. I mean, Trump he reacts. He doesn't usually think before he talks. We've seen that even when he was on The Apprentice, right? And before that. So yes, it's quite possible that's something he was alluding to. If we take that as face value, if we put that out there and accept that, then yes, I could see him just reacting that way. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what the follow-up to that is, guys? When we come back, I'll give you the follow-up to that, because that could have been the door opening that some of the others in the administration used to say what they said. Oh, lots to cover here, and we're going to talk about Alex Preddy and why what happened to him. It's not hard to decipher, ladies and gentlemen. We'll go there right after the break with Jared Yanis, Guns and Gadgets. We'll be right back. And are we back at it? Armed American Radio's... There we go. Armed American Radio's Daily Defense continues, ladies and gentlemen, here from the CZ Studios. Mark Walters filling your prescription for freedom. Garbage day at the ranch. Garbage day at the ranch. They chose not to pick up the garbage today because I guess ice scared them a couple days ago that we never got. Sometimes that happens down south. Guys, please visit all of our great sponsors. You can find them all at armedamericanradio.com, armedamericanradio.com, or .org. Take your pick. We got it both covered for you. If you're watching on your stream, you can see the QR code up there. Grab that. That's Blackout Coffee. That'll take you right to the site, blackoutcoffee.com. Make sure to get the same coffee we're drinking here and the same coffee that Jared drinks every single day. And you can find all of our partners, including blackoutcoffee.com, the National Rifle Association, CZ, Car Arms, everybody, Crossbreed Holsters, Patriots Relief. They're all there for you, including budsgunshop.com, our exclusive online retailer, budsgunshop.com. They have everything you want and need everything they have. Trust me when I tell you that. When they are loaded with stuff, make sure to check them out. They're running specials over there constantly. Let's go back to the phones. Jared Yanis, Guns and Gadgets. Welcome back, my friend. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about Alex Preddy and how and why. I teased it when we were coming out of the last break, or going into the last break. But let's talk about why what happened. And I watched your videos, and I'm in 100% agreement with you. This is, to me, is not hard to decipher. Okay. This individual, now, when you carry a firearm, you're former law enforcement, right? You spent 24 years wearing the badge. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, sir.
All right. Somebody puts a hand on you while you're committing, or while you're doing your job. That's committing a felony if they interject on you while you're doing your duty. Is it not?
For the feds, yes. For the lonely city cops, it's usually just a misdemeanor. But yes, it still is a crime when you're interfering in lawful police activity.
All right. Who in their right mind? Jared, I have 3 guns in here, and I have one on me right now. If something happened outside this studio, who in their right mind would go out there armed and involve themselves in police activity that they have no idea about whatsoever, that does not involve them, and not expect a response from law enforcement? Who in their right mind would do that? Educate me.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
I think that's what Trump was alluding to. I think that's where he was going with that off-the-cuff statement he made.
Yeah, I don't think anybody is excusing what happened once he put himself in that position where he was going to, interfere with whatever law enforcement was doing, with whether it was the woman that got pepper sprayed or whatever. But up until that point is where most of America has that issue. But once he crossed that line, if you will, to use that terminology, all bets were off. At that point in time, if you're, willingly interfering in whatever investigation is going on, whether you like it or not, whether you like, deportation or not, it's not the spot for you to jump in the fray. Peaceful protest is one thing, but jumping in the fray is different. It's almost like the Democrats, mostly peaceful protests.
Okay, right, yeah, like with fire behind them. Okay,
yeah.
There's always that. Now, I'm not going to name names. You probably have seen what I'm getting ready to mention. It doesn't matter, but there are some quote-unquote pro-gun people out there, and I've seen this from more than one person, saying things on social media, which, by the way, guys, please be careful what you say on social media, because people who make a living talking on national radio may pull you out and call you out one day with some of the statements that you make. Okay, some of what you say just does not age well. Think before you put some garbage out there. In fact, you know what? Probably be better if you just put a recipe up and had family pictures. That's what it was designed for in the first place. But having said that, there's some folks out there that say, look, I didn't see this individual do anything other than help a woman who had been pushed to the ground. I didn't see any resistance. I didn't see any interference. I just saw somebody helping someone who was being pushed, who had been pushed to the ground. Now, that individual, pro-gun, but didn't see what I saw. And therein lies a huge part of this problem, because I know we're in agreement on this. This is so important to talk about. Alex Preddy had every right to be there lawfully armed. And as from everything we know, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, if there's been any news that I'm unaware of, help me out. But he was a lawful Minnesota concealed carry permit holder. Now, the DOJ is saying that he didn't have his driver's license on him. I don't know if that's true or not. That could be damage control at this point. As far as I'm concerned, we all know government would never do that, right? We don't know. But the fact of the matter is he did have, and it was confirmed by the chief of police in Minnesota, that he did have a concealed carry permit. Nobody is disagreeing, including the pro-gun person that said that this individual did not have the right to stand there. I 100,000 gazillion% agree with that. But that line was crossed when you get into the foray. It doesn't matter at that point. And Jared, I don't care if the cops were right or wrong. Hopefully the system will work properly. And if a federal agent committed a felony and murdered him, they'll go to trial. None of that matters to me. What matters to me is not getting into the mix to begin with. But by doing that, when you're dealing in a highly volatile situation, one that, come on, this guy knew, he'd been there before. He had a cracked rib because of it. He knew, and he willfully went there armed and interjected himself in it. Dude, he's got a First Amendment right to stand there and blow whistles and shout profanities all day long, bang on drums, do whatever he wants to do. But don't get in the mix, because you might have a bad cop or a trigger-happy cop or a frightened cop that's going to react, particularly when they find out you're carrying a gun. I mean, set my mind right.
You know, what you just said about the reaction part, I think that bodes well into what I'm going to say here. Police use of force is governed by a Supreme Court case called Graham versus Connor.
Correct.
And
know it well.
I'll dumb that down for the listeners in a quick 30-second thing. Police use of force is judged after the fact, and the case says it cannot be Monday morning quarterbacked. So you have to take the officer's statement and all of the totality of the circumstances, everything around it, the officer's training, etc. And then there's a thing called a reasonable officer standard, meaning we take another reasonable officer, place him in that exact same spot with the exact same standards of training, the exact same circumstances. Would he reasonably respond and react the same way that officer did? Okay? So we have perception going on. And they say in Graham versus Connor, your perception can never be wrong. So where you and I might perceive that dude jumped in or had an intent, maybe an intent to get involved, other people will have a perception that he was just there, trying to help a poor woman, and he got muckled by a bunch of thugs. So we're always not everybody's going to see it the same way. But once you go hands-on with somebody, your risk of having a firearm, and you could hear audibly, gun, gun, gun. Yeah. And most cops, their response is, I'm going to draw down, right? I'm going to draw down, and I'm going to, cover down the target. And then you do see another officer come out of that pig pile with the gun that is very similar to the one we were shown by FBI saying this was his firearm. And then a split second later, you hear the firearms go off. So there's a lot of things to unpack there, and you can't. Unfortunately for the public, you cannot nitpick in slow motion. You have to take this in the full speed that these guys and gals were experiencing it in real life, and it's tough. So is this investigation probably going to be ruled as a justified shooting?
Yeah, it is.
Quite possibly so.
Yeah.
Does it look bad? Yes, it does. But, on a myriad of different ways, knowing he was armed, once guys go hand on, if he says, hey, I'm armed, and just give up, right, that goes a different way.
Okay.
Did he reach for his gun? I don't know.
All right, let's stop there, because when we come back, there are some frames in here that I want to go into, because a lot of what we're talking about here, ladies and gentlemen, is the Monday morning quarterbacking. And to dumb it down even further for you, it's you have to stand in the shoes of, okay? At that split second. I've had this conversation with Masad Ayub hundreds of times over the years, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, I'm sure you probably have as well, Jared. Yeah. We're talking with Jared Yanis, Guns and Gadgets, YouTube sensation. Make sure to follow him over there. He's getting close to 1 million. Let's help him do so. And while you're at it, the QR code is there. Grab some great blackout coffee. Armed American Radio's Daily Defense on a garbage day at the ranch. We have one more segment to go. Don't go away. It's going to be a good one. This segment is brought to you by Attorneys on Retainer. Get the only self-defense program for gun owners backed by a real law firm, the Attorneys for Freedom. Visit them online at attorneysonretainer.us. Welcome back. Yeah, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Final segment. I told you it was going to fly right along. I'm holding up my Attorneys on Retainer card if you're watching on the stream, and several hundred of you are. We appreciate that very much. Attorneysonretainer.us. Use the promo code AAR. I will be out there February 18th through the 23rd, broadcasting 2 days of this show and the Sunday Monster Cast when we head out for the Attorney on Retainer Conference, which will be in the beautiful city of Mesa, Arizona at the Mesa Convention Center. If you are a member, I hope to see you there. And guess what? The gentleman we're talking to on the program today is also going to be there with us as well. There will Heavy Duty Country. Jared, jump back in. Heavy Duty Country is going to be out there. I'm going to be out there. AWR is going to be out there. Parkland Father Ryan Petty is going to be out there. Alan Gottlieb is going to be out there. And there will be many more as well. I'm probably missing a few. But guys, if you don't want to use the AAR promo code because you don't like the way I look or the way I talk, Jared, give them your promo code. We just need people to get involved here and have this in their pocket, brother. This is critical.
Oh, man, use AAR. He looks much better than I do. I have,
I don't know. I got a pretty good shot of you up there, man.
It's all about you, brother.
Oh, man, you can use the GNG too, ladies and gentlemen. It doesn't matter. Just make sure you pick this up. It is $37 a month, and either promo code is going to save you $25 on the sign-up fee. My kids have it, both of them. 21 and 24 years old, 21 and 23 years old. My wife has it. I have it. My dad has it. Okay? Brother-in-law has it. Friends, neighbors. Guys, if you carry a firearm, you know bad things can happen. Okay? We're talking about one of those things right now. Sadly, it resulted in a death. Let's go back, Jared, to that conversation because there's when you stop frame this, and I know you have, there's a video taken from behind. I'm not sure if it's body cam footage from another officer that was behind the scene. It may very well have been because of the proximity. But when you stop the frame, at the exact moment you see the officer in the gray pull the firearm out, the shot rings out within a split second after that, and the officer who fired never looked in the direction of that officer, didn't react. All he's hearing is gun, 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 and seeing resistance at that moment, at that split second. And as I said, I dumbed it down even further. You got to stand in those shoes in that split second. But there is no noticeable movement from that officer before he fired, that he looked in that direction. I don't even think he knew that gun was taken away at that moment in time, in that split second, in that chaos. I don't believe it for 1 second when I looked at that video, Jared. I could be wrong.
No, I don't think he did. It's tough. I mean, when you literally have a split second, I mean, it maybe even been shorter than a second when you break down the time. There's no way he knew that that person had just been disarmed, because you're focusing on the threat, and that, put yourself in their shoes. They're worried about that person having a gun and maybe having it turned on them. You got a crowd that's not very friendly, surrounding them. It's a tough spot to be in, and unfortunately, things didn't go good.
Not very friendly, huh? That's being nice. Jared, ladies and gentlemen, is being FCC friendly here, and we appreciate that very, very much. If this were an internet conversation or a pure straight-up podcast, I tell you. The problem here is we're not going to be able to talk sense into those who don't see that. They see, I hate ICE. They see, I hate Trump, which is where a lot of this comes from. The TDS is very, very real. That's where a lot of this comes from. I'm very, very disappointed in both the response, and I'm just going to be very honest here. I'm very disappointed in the response from the White House and the DOJ and DHS, and I'm also very, very upset about the response coming from pro-gun groups who also know that with their rhetoric that they're feeding those trolls. Because I'm going to promise you right now, as sure as we're sitting on this show, we'll be able to take a look back at this. You're going to see a lot of those comments. Those are going to be political ads. And the fact that they're jumping on the gun issue now is just more further evidence that this is the media doing what they do, ladies and gentlemen, looking for any avenue they can to take down Donald Trump. Now, here's the kicker, because this is clearly well-funded insurgency. These are organized protests meant to be violent. They are willing to take certain casualties so that they can martyr those individuals to the mainstream media who is sympathetic to their cause. Trump has been in office 1 year and 7 days today. They've got 3 more years to go, Jared. What are we looking at down the road? Care to make a prediction? Because I can promise you that a lot of these insurgents are trying desperately to start a civil war in this country. And I'm telling you, man, This is going to be a frightening 3 years based on what we're seeing right now and the reaction from the left. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, it's always the violent left. Let's just go there. Jared, take it away.
The tolerant left. The tolerant left is being tolerant again. It's definitely it's so funny. Like I'm doing a series right now on my channel on the Federalist Papers, and we're talking about right now is how the founders 250 years ago warned us that America's biggest weakness is division and disunity. And you're seeing groups, the Soroses and the like, push disunity at every opportunity they get. Fund the picketing, fund the rioting. We didn't have any riots during the Biden administration. Funny how that worked out. But they know the only way to destroy what this country is from within. And it's key that America remembers their history. They remember the warnings, the prophetic warnings that we got from our founders, and not fall for the BS. We have to remain united. We have to remain strong and stand by our rule of law. Like these laws that they're so upset with were signed 40, 50, 60 years ago. It's not something that Donald Trump signed last week and all of a sudden people are getting kicked out of the country. It's Obama.
It's Trump.
Kicked more people out of the country than Trump did.
Absolutely he did. Absolutely he did. And he did it throughout both of his terms. And we didn't see this reaction from the violent left. It's interesting because you go back and listen to some of the comments and some of MS Now and ABC and CBS. I got to give CNN some credit. I do believe they've played a couple of those clips from Obama, oddly enough, of Obama saying the very same things that Trump is saying. And we don't see this type of reaction. Why? Well, this goes back to the hate Donald Trump at all cost. And those minds are never going to change. Guys, if you've got members in your family, ladies and gentlemen, I know you do. I do. We all do. Who just, those are people, just don't argue with them. It's best just to walk away. You're not going to change their minds. They're suffering from TDS. It isn't going to get better. But I shudder to think what the next 3 years is going to be like, Jared. It's scary to think about because 3 years, while politically is not a long time, 3 years is a long time when you're suffering from a disease like this, because this is only going to escalate, sadly. I don't think the two sides will ever come together. You said we got to stand strong together. I don't see it happening, brother. I see a national divorce ahead.
Yeah, it's the biggest test is the midterms. That's what they're worried about. If, quote unquote, Republicans regain control, then they know they got to fight that they can't handle the next 2 years because Donald Trump is going to dismember everything that, find. Look at all the stuff in Minnesota. Why are they fighting so bad in Minneapolis? It's because of all the Somali daycares were uncovered. There's a lot more that will be uncovered, and if they can basically turn Trump into a lame duck president in 6 or 8 months, that's their goal. If they can, win the midterms and take control, or just basically put a freeze on everything in the country politically, that's a victory for them, and I think that's what they're after right now.
Yeah, and you know what, guys? What you just heard Jared say is spot on, and let's just take it one step further as we head into the end of this hour. That's why the statements coming from the White House, the DHS, and the DOJ regarding the Second Amendment, their comments on the carrying of the firearm were so boneheaded. This is one group you do not want to alienate when we're coming into these midterms. It's so important that Trump keeps the House and the Senate. Jared, real fast, where can people find you, brother, real quick?
Guns and Gadgets on YouTube, and follow my Twitter because it gets kind of spicy.
Yeah, it does get spicy. It's always fun. Things we can't talk about here, ladies and gentlemen. Armed American Radio's Daily Defense. Thank you, Jared Yanis, for everything you do. Guns and Gadgets on YouTube. Go help him get to 1 million, folks. Blackoutcoffee.com. We're going to get up and do it again tomorrow. We'll see you on the radio.
All clear.
All right, roger that. Hey, guys, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it very much. Hope you enjoyed the program today. It's a dicey situation out there, ladies and gentlemen. It's not going to get any better anytime soon. We're going to carry on the conversation tomorrow on Armed American Radio's Daily Defense here from the CZ Studios on Thursday as we work our way closer to the weekend for you. Have a big monster cast coming up. And make sure if you visit all of our partners, as I mentioned and as Jared mentioned, we're all going to be there in Arizona. Come out and hang out with us for a couple of days. We'll be broadcasting this show and broadcasting the Monster Cast from beautiful Arizona, February 18th through the 23rd. That event occurs on February 19th and 20th in Mason. We'll be out there a couple of days in advance and a couple of days afterwards to bring you the show while we're traveling out there. Stay safe out there, guys. It's brutal. Don't make stupid decisions, all right? Stay safe. We'll see you on the radio, guys.